Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Brihvacharya Sarsi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Sri Lesi Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Brihvacharya Sarsi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Gokishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Thakur Bhakti Vinod Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Go Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkam Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary, Srila Prabhupada, Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, verse number 11. So, yes. So please repeat. Devan Bhavayatanena Te Deva Bhavayantu Vaha Parasparam Bhavanyanta Shreya Param Avapsyata Devan Bhavayatanena Te Deva Bhavayantu Parasparam Bhavayantaha Shreyan Param Avapsyasta Devan Bhavayatanena Te Deva Bhavayantu Vaha Parasparam bhavayantaha Shreya param avapsyataha Devan bhavayatanena Tadeva bhavayantu vaha Parasparam bhavayantaha Shreya param avapsyata
Devan bhavayatanena Deva bhavayantu va Parasparam bhavayanta Shreya param avapsyata
Devan bhavayantanena
Devan bhavayatanena
Deva bhavayantu vaha
Deva bhavayantu va
Parasparam bhavayantu ha
Parasparam bhavayantu
Shreya param avapsyatha
Shreya param avapsyata
Devan bhavayatanena
Devan bhavayatanena
Deva bhavayantu vaha
Deva bhavayantu va
Parasparam bhavayantaha Shreya parama avapsyata Devan bhavayatanena
Devan bhavayatanena
Deva bhavayantu vaha
Deva bhavayantu va
Parasparam bhavayantaha Shreya param avapsyata
Devan bhavayatanena
Devan bhavayantanena
Deva bhavayantu vaha
Deva bhavayantu vaha
Parasparam bhavayantaha
Parasparam bhavayantaha
Shreya param avapsyata
Shreya param avapsyata Devan bhavayatanena Deva bhavayantu vaha Parasparam bhavayantaha Shreya param avapsyata
Jai. So, word for word, please repeat. Devan, demigods. Bhavayanta, having pleased. Anena, by this sacrifice. The te, those. Deva, demigods. Bhavayantu, will please. Vaha, you. Parasparam, mutually. Bhavayantaha, pleasing one another. Benediction. Param, the supreme. Avapsyata, you will achieve. So, translation, Srila Prabhupada. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Please repeat. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. And thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Purport Srila Prabhupada. The demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. The supply of air, light, water, and other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants in different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yagyas by the human being. Some of the yagyas are meant to satisfy particular demigods, but even in so doing, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in all yagyas as the chief beneficiary. It is stated also in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of yagyas. Bhaktaram yagyatapasam. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the yagyapati is the chief purpose of all yagyas. When these yagyas are perfectly performed, naturally the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. Performance of yagyas has many side benefits, ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. By performance of yagyas, all activities become purified, as it is stated in the Vedas. Ahara Shuddho, Sattva Suddhi, Sattva Suddho, Dhruva Smriti, Smriti Labhe, Sarva Grantinam Vipramukshaha. By performance of yagyas, one's eatables becomes sanctified, and by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present-day society. Mukum karoti vachalam pangam laite girim yad kripa tamaham bande Sri Guru Nitarinam Devam bhava yahtanena ta deva bhava yantu baha parasparam bhava yantaha Shreya param avapsyata. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you. And thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Yes. So cooperation between men and demigods. So what are the demigods? Well, demigod means half-god. That's an English term, but they're deva. They are devotees. But as Prabhupada says here, they're the empowered administrators of material affairs. So in the modern day, they just think that everything is working according to physical laws. This is the atheistic materialism that we've all been brought up with in the educational system. That there are atoms, molecules, and so on and so forth, and these are interacting according to physical, chemical, biological laws. And if we ascertain these laws, then we can use the material energy to our own benefit. This is the atheistic idea, that there is nothing beyond the material energy. But that is not what Krishna explains. Matak parataram nanyad kinchid asti janandaya sutre manik gana iva. There is nothing beyond me, but everything is resting upon me, just like pearls are strung upon a thread, just like our neck beads are strung upon a thread. So they are maintaining their form as a necklace. So, yes, we don't deny that, of course, because that is mentioned in the Vedas itself, even in the Bhagavatam, there's talk about the atom and so on and so forth. And there is, some writers have said that for nuclear power, and which means splitting the atom, so on and so forth, those ideas were taken originally in seed form from the Vedas. So the physical laws are there, but everything is dependent upon the Supreme Lord. Just like in a country, for example, here in Bharat, India, there are laws, but they are resting upon the authority of the government. The government has created these laws through parliament and whatever, and they are enforcing or maintaining these laws. And if we act in accordance with these laws, then we are a good citizen, and we can take the benefit of those laws. We can travel nicely on the road. We can get water and supply and so on and so forth, financial benefits. However, if we become outlaws and we want to drive on the wrong side of the road, we don't want to pay our taxes to the government by which they maintain all the facilities in the country. And then if we become rogues and rascals and become thieves, then the government will come after us and we will suffer for breaking those laws. We can expect a problem. Of course, the demoniac mentality thus described, they always think that they can escape any reaction to the misbehavior. They are called duskritina, miscreants. So they never surrender. There's 4 in type. The mudha, very stupid fellow, has got no brain, and he just wants to work hard and get things, not necessarily in an intelligent way, but he believes in labor. Then there is the naradama. Narada means lowest of nara. He is ready to do anything, immoral or so on and so forth, to gain his material objectives. Then there is the maya apritagyan. This is the apparently learned person, but his intelligence is clouded by maya, so he never gets the correct understanding. And then the root of it all is these 4 miscreants, asuram, bhavam, astrita. Those that take shelter of the atheistic mentality. They are asura. Here is mentioned deva. The deva are the demigods, they are the devotees, and they have been given positions within the material energy to govern it. Just like the government, say, of this country gives appointments and powers to the different ministers, the Minister of Transport, the Minister of Water, the Minister of Defense. And so that is similar, as above, so below. So the whole universe is run in that way. There are the supreme proprietor, Krishna, Bhaktaram Yogyatapa Sam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the controller of all the material energy. He is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. So his government is well disposed. His supreme spiritual government is well disposed. But in Kali Yuga, the governments are often just interested in exploiting the populace. They want to take the tax money and use it for their own benefit. They don't necessarily take all the tax money and put it back into the roads or the water system, the electric system, so on and so forth. They want to take the money and give 20% back to the citizens. And then they want to use their citizens for their own glorification and for wars and pestilence. So in this Papik situation, which we see in Kali Yuga, and it's warned in the Bhagavatam, that Kali appears as what? At the beginning of the Bhagavatam, he appears as a king. He's black. And his idea is to be a hypocrite. Kali Yuga is the iron age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So the leader, Kali, is beating Dharma, is destroying. But the supreme government of the universe is the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. We saw this in the previous verse, right? Prabhupada mentions in the purport, there may be sacrifices, offerings to the different demigods, but in number 9 said, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage to the material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties, in Arjuna's case, as a Kshatriya, and in that way you will remain always free from bondage. That means karma phala, because there's karma and there's the fruit of karma, known as karma phala. But if we act for Vishnu, then we develop seva bhav and we become under the shelter of the spiritual energy. Whereas if we act from ourselves in an illicit way, particularly, then we gain the reactions of material energy. Just in the same way, like we say, an outlaw, if he doesn't live by the laws of the state, he suffers reaction. He becomes punished by the state. So if mankind, and this is what Krishna's saying in today's verse, if mankind lives in harmony with the system that the universe, the material universe, is created with, then he can get general prosperity for all. He will work nicely within the state. So we will work nicely within India if we're law-abiding citizens. But if we are outlaws, then we can expect a bad reaction. So this is the laws of man, the situation of man, but this is echoing what is the actual universal arrangement. Krishna is the Yagya Parush. Vishnu, in this case, is very interesting to notice that in the beginning, Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So this is Krishna. He is bringing up the absolute truth. Yes, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. So he's not actually saying in this point that I am that Vishnu. Vishnu translates or generally indicates God, of course, the Supreme, but it indicates Vishnu, one who lives everywhere. Now generally, there are three ideas to this living everywhere, and that is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, yes. So the Supreme Lord is often in philosophy, in all religious system, described as omnipotent. He has all powers. So in Sanskrit that means Sava Shakti. That is the second aspect of Godhead in the Das Mula Tattva. The first being Hari Ishvara, he's the Supreme Controller. And then Sarvagyan, or Achintya Shakti. So in Sarvagyan, he has unlimited, inconceivable potency. And by that, he is omnipresent. So he's omnipotent, then he's omnipresent, and then he's omniscient, he's Sarvagyan. He knows everything. So this is Paramatma. So if we understand Paramatma, we understand that he is actually transcendental. He is not directly, if you like to say, controlling the material energy, because he always maintains his position as transcendental. but he empowers the devatas, the demigods, to manage. Just like you can say, just by way of illustration, the Prime Minister of India doesn't do everything, but he empowers the different ministers to manage the different affairs of the state. He appoints them and directs them, but he is not going to the meeting about the roads or the railways or the waterworks. He is just doing that. So Krishna maintains his transcendental position, but he gives Shakti, divine Shakti, to the devotees who are his, as Prabhupada says here, right? The empowered administrators of material affairs. And then on his behalf, they administrate the material energy. So that is the basic system. So here, Arjuna is being further educated in this section. Previously we saw in the first chapter, Arjuna was confused. I don't want to fight. Then he surrendered to Krishna in the second chapter, and Krishna taught him Sankhya. He said, this is the material energy. You are the spiritual energy. The material energy is temporary, you are eternal. So now you should be equipoised, Arjuna, and you should not slip from the understanding of your spiritual nature. You should be like the ocean. You should sense desires or rivers flow into the ocean, but you should not be disturbed in your meditation upon the self. And he said, Arjuna asked, how do we know who is transcendental? And Krishna said, when the person, the soul, finds satisfaction in the self alone, and he's no longer disturbed by sense desires which arise from mental concoction, then he is said to be in pure transcendental service. So then Krishna warns Arjuna that you should be very careful about the senses. If you let them out of control, they'll drag you here and there. And then he talks karma yoga. He explains, now Arjuna, you understand how to be equipoised. You're not equipoised. You're refusing to do your duty as a Kshatriya in the first chapter, at the beginning of the second. Now you should become equipoised and do your prescribed duties, as mentioned here. That is your duty within human society and as a spirit soul. Act from the spiritual platform in an equipoised manner and do your duty. But then at the beginning of this chapter, Arjuna said, well, Krishna, I'm a little confused. You're saying I'm spiritual and I should be equipoised, and you're giving me the knowledge of Sankhya, that I'm different from the material energy, but then you're telling me to fight in this battle. And this is a very ghastly affair. Wouldn't it be better, that I renounce it? This is his mood at the beginning of the Gita. I don't want to fight. So now Krishna is taking him along. Arjuna, yes, I've told you you're not the material body or the spirit soul, and you should identify and become situated atmasta in your spiritual nature and become equipoised to the promptings from the material energy. And now you should do your duty. But Arjuna is not satisfied with that. You should do your duty from the spiritual platform. He says, well, Krishna, that seems to be contradictory. But then Krishna is now saying, look, Arjuna, you can't stop doing work at the beginning of this chapter. Everyone has to do work born out of their own nature. No one can refrain from doing something even from a moment, Krishna says. So, but now Arjuna, what you should do, you should understand is that you have prescribed duties, but they're not in conflict. I've taught you Sankhya, you're the soul. Then I said you have prescribed duties. But now, Arjuna, I want you to understand, you have to do those prescribed duties for Vishnu. And that is no conflict. And that is the purpose. You have to work. So now you have to work for Vishnu. Work performed as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, you are acting on the material platform without seva bhav, without mood of service to Krishna, and therefore, acting according to yourself, you become a papi. You go against the nature of the material world. The material world is not just inanimate material energy, but it is karmic in nature. There are laws in it. And if you do not act for Vishnu, then you'll be under Durga. You'll be doing illicit activities, you'll have bad consciousness, and you won't become liberated from the material energy, which is the goal of human life, back to Godhead. So Arjuna, don't just consider running away from the battlefield, but do your duty, even though it incurs fighting and killing. And I've already explained to you, for the soul there's no birth and death. But now you have to do that not for your own self, which is the mood of Duryodhana. You have to do that for Vishnu. Now, and the important point is there that Krishna is saying Vishnu. He's not explaining per se, I am that omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, supreme Lord. He's saying Vishnu. So of course, Krishna fully develops the idea in the 9th chapter of the Gita. That is the most confidential knowledge. What is that most confidential knowledge? That most confidential knowledge is that Krishna is Ishvara Parama Satchidananda Vigraha. That he is not, as some persons interpret, an expansion of Vishnu or Paramatma or Mahavishnu, that he is the source of everything. And he clarifies that also in the 10th chapter. Aham sarvasya pravavo matak sarvam pravartate. And the result of that is iti matva bhajanti mam. Those that know this very nicely, they engage in my bhajan. And then he says maksita. He gives what is bhajan, what is upasana. So, but now, that is later in the Gita, but now he's just introducing to Arjuna and to us in a kind of a subtle way that you have to recognize the Supreme Lord, even though he's not actually saying that he is the Supreme Lord. But he does say that later on in the Gita, if I remember correctly. He does. So in this chapter, yes, he talks about how I don't have any duty. Everyone else has duty, but I don't. So he's hinting that I'm the supreme duty. If I ever fail to engage in performing prescribed duties, Arjuna, because Arjuna is still not committed, certainly all men would follow my path. Yes. Where is that sloka where Krishna says it? Yes. Yeah, here it is, number 30. Therefore, it tells Arjuna, you must do your duty. And you must do it for Vishnu. But he's not saying, I'm Vishnu directly. But then he explains, as an introduction, you know that I have created this system of sacrifice to the devas and ultimately to the absolute truth. But everyone has to do their work, but they should do it in the spirit of offering to the Supreme Lord. And then he explains that the Supreme Lord, which he doesn't directly say, he says, I have no duty, because I am the Supreme Lord, the implication. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the difference between work in devotion, yajna, because the sacrifices are an offering to Vishnu. They are done in devotion, and work for fruitive results. So, like we said earlier, like throughout the Vedas, we should be very clear. If we act on our own impetus, our own nature, and our own greed for material facility, then we're acting fruitively. That is the nature of the material energy. It makes us godless, forgetful of any supreme, and it makes us act fruitively. I do this to get that. We're always considering what is my own benefit in the way I speak, in the way I think, in the way actions I perform with my body. I'm always thinking, what's my benefit in this situation? So this is the fruitive mentality. So religion in human society is meant to regulate that. So we see in all religions there is don't lie, don't thieve, don't kill, don't blaspheme God, so on and so forth. That meant to regulate the material activities. But here, that one is in the knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna says here, look, he doesn't say tattvavit, one who knows the truth, the supreme truth, param tattva. He doesn't act in the material way, even in a regulated way. Rather, he acts for the supreme. So that means nimatsaranam satam. He has to be non-envious of the supreme. The problem is in the material world, people, spirit souls, are coming here with the independent mentality. I am not subordinate to the supreme. So this is envy, this is matsarya, this is the root of ignorance, that I don't recognize that there is a supreme, rather that I substitute the supreme with my own self, and I serve myself in all sorts of ways. Now that is there in the animal kingdom, but in the human society, we can understand that. One who is in the knowledge of the absolute truth, we can understand that I should act for Vishnu, for the Supreme Lord. That is meant to be the format of human society. And so therefore Varnashram is there. But Varnashram, yad karosi yad adnasi dadasi yad, all the prescribed duties should be done as an offering to Vishnu. Now, and then Krishna says, therefore, Arjuna, surrendering your works unto me. You see this? Mai sarvi sarvani karmani sannyasidyatma cetasa nirasir nirmana bhutayu yosha vigyati jara. You act for me. So now Krishna, having explained, I have no prescribed duties within all the three worlds, which is giving a hint to Arjuna that Oh, so Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Now he directly says, he comes with the conclusive statement, therefore surrender all your works to me. Because I've mentioned Vishnu previously, but that Vishnu is my expansion. With full knowledge of me. That means with the understanding, I'm the Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matak Sarvam Pravatate. Understanding that I am the detached Supreme Lord who is above the demigods, whom everything is resting upon. I am the maintainer. Vishnu is my expansion, Gunavatar. He's maintaining all the laws of the material universe, social, moral, physical, chemical, whatever. They're all resting upon me in my position. But understanding in full knowledge that I am the transcendental Lord. And therefore you should act for my satisfaction. With full knowledge, without desire for profit, which tamagun, rajagun rather, with no claims of proprietorship, yes. So that's mode of passion, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, free from tamagun, fight. Do your duty, and you see this, with full knowledge of me. That is a reference to Sattva-gun. Those that are in Sattva-gun, they have knowledge of the Supreme. They have the conclusions of the Vedas within their mind, and they are acting on a pure material platform, so they gain realization of the absolute truth. But if you act with desire for profit, claiming everything belongs to me, this is ahankara, it is mode of passion. And then if you don't act at all, lethargy, laziness, is evoked by the mode of ignorance. So if you are in this situation, Arjuna, then you're not going to act for me. So you must have this knowledge, with full knowledge of me. And Krishna's given this introductory knowledge in the previous verses, saying, I am that Supreme Lord, for whom there is no prescribed duty, Arjuna. And so, I am that Supreme Lord. So, as we go back to number 11, even though you are acting, there's mention of the demigods, thus engaging in devotion, wait a minute. Number 11. Yes, in charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods is certainly a thief. And then, so Krishna talking about the devatas, then he talks about himself. The devotees of the Lord, which we now know is Krishna, are released from all kinds of sin because they eat food which is first offered for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So somebody may say, why is food so important? You see, if you look at the material energy, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, the sun, moon, so on and so forth, what is it all coordinated to do? If we look at the material energy, it is all coordinated, the non-moving living entities, the plants and flowers and fruits. It is coordinated to provide food. Now the animals, I don't know of any animal that cooks his food. But human beings, they all take the efforts of this coordinated material energy, coordinated under the demigods, and they cook it. But Krishna says, if you just take the produce of the demigods and you eat it for your own self, then you're eating sin. So you should take the produce of the material energy and offer it to the Devata, who are my extended limbs, who are my empowered administrators, by offering it to me. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. So just to make this point clear, I looked up 8 of the primary devatas are the 8 Vasus. So and they are situated around Indraloka, on the top of Meru. So the demigod in charge, or the Vasu in charge of ether, there's different names in the Vedas. He's known as Prabhasha, Dayu. The air god is Anila or Vayu, also Aha. The fire, Anala or Agni. Water, Apa or Dhara. I believe Bhishma was the 8 Vasu, or the Vasu of water, I believe so. And then earth, Dhara, Prithvi or Anila. And then, so it's very easy to remember these 8 Vasus. There's one for ether, the Pancha Mahabhuta, the 5 primary material elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then the next 3, to complete the 8, is the sun, Surya, also sometimes known as Pratyustha. And then the moon, Soma, Chandra. And then the 3rd of the planets, so we have the 5 material elements, and then we have the sun, moon, and Dhruva, the pole star. And he is known also as Nakshantrani and Chandrama. So these are the 8 things, and they are all regulating the material energy. It is not, as we started saying at the beginning of the class, going on in a just kind of automatic fashion. We don't see that the affairs of India or any country are going on in an automatic fashion. They're run by the different ministries. And if they're not run by the different ministries, everything becomes completely disorganized. So this is called, in material science, there's a word for this, where everything just dissipates. But actually we see the atoms and molecules, the physical and chemical laws, they're being maintained, and they are exerting upon the material energy and maintaining the universal creation. So this is done in cooperation by these empowered administrators. And they are empowered to control these elements throughout the material universe. And the end of all their work is the produce of food and the sustenance of all the living entities. So animals, they can be forgiven in a way. They just eat without any consciousness of satisfying the demigods, of course. But human beings should understand, if you have knowledge, that this is all being produced, and now I will cook, just like we have prasadam. It is cooked by pure devotees. It is offered by pure devotees to the Supreme Lord, and it is taken in devotional mood. So when it is explained that you should offer sacrifice to the devatas, we offer to Krishna, source of Vishnu, and we should also remember that the devatas, in this case 8 here, the 8 Vasus, they are part of Vishnu. And if we do that, we are satisfying the Vasus. Other primary devatas are the twin Aswinis. They appeared as Nukula and Sahadev. They are very skillful at horses. They always recommend honey. They appear at dawn, sunset, and noon. And of course, Sahadev was particularly known for his skill with horses, one of the Pandavas, and Nakula was said to be the most handsome man on earth. So these are some of the devatas, but it is mentioned in the Vedas there are 33 million devatas. Now somebody may say, Prabhupada says there, innumerable devatas. So somebody may say, 33 million devatas, that is a mind-boggling amount. But if you just consider how many government employees are there in India? Local, central government, they're in the army, there's different ministers. There must be at least 1 million working for the government, right? What to speak of all the armed forces. And then if you think all the countries on the Bhumandala, and they all have their civil servants in different departments, how many do you think government employees are there? And then they have United Nations, and they have secretaries and sub-secretaries and this committee, and they're all government agents of sometimes Kali, but they're millions and millions just on this one planet, or this one Bhumandala. But then we know that there is Bhumandala, there's Bhuvarloka, there's Swargaloka, there is Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and below there is the subterranean planets within the Bhumandala, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Tala, Tala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Batala. And then there is Narak. And so these devatas, these primary ones we've mentioned here, Indra, he is like the Kshatriya of Swargaloka. He is the king of Swargaloka, and the Vasus are dotted around his residence at the top of Meru, and the top of Meru even higher is Lord Brahma. So 33 million is less when you consider each universe is billions of miles, and there's so much complexity that we cannot even ascertain it. We look at the night sky and we see so many stars, and are they planets or are they lokas? The thing when we look at the universe, we should understand it through the Sanskrit word, loka. Loka does not necessarily mean planet in the way we think of a planet, or some round glob floating in space. Loka means realm. So we have Goloka, it's the realm of Goloka. We have Hari Loka, we have Shiva Loka, these are realms. Just like in Delhi, you have the realm of the government. You have the transport realm near the bus station and the train station. You have the entertainment realm. You have the realm of the hotels, for example. You have the embassy, the realm of the thing. So we have been brought up with this materialistic conception that's been promulgated through the educational system, and it is in this fixed way of planets and gravity and so forth. But we should understand that the material energy is ultimately resting on a mystical entity. It is resting upon the inconceivable Supreme Lord, and He has constructed different realms. Atala is a different realm from Vitala, Sutala, Tala. These are realms, and they are not necessarily all what we have been taught in school. And this is, if you investigate, there is so much contrary advice. But the material energy, contrary interpretations from the one that is generally taught in the schooling system. But if you study the Vedic information, it talks of lokas, realms. Ultimately, access to these realms is through consciousness. Goloka is the realm of pure bhakti, spontaneous loving devotion to Krishna. Haridham is there, that is in Aishwarya Bhav. Madhurya Bhav is Goloka. And these different realms, the living entity, by his interaction with the material energy, becomes qualified for different realms. He may become qualified by demoniac activity to the lower realms. He may be qualified by very sinful activity for hellish, Narakaloka, these realms. But we should not think of these realms just in what we've seen when we were taught geography, and there was a picture on the wall in the classroom. We should try to intuit these realms through the grace of Paramatma, Guru, and the Shastra, and understand that the realms are not fixed in the sense that we've been taught, that the material energy works according to fixed laws. No, these realms have different layouts, different constructs, different realms, different quantities of the earth element, different qualities of the water element. We are on Bhuloka. Bhuloka means the realm of earth. Earth solids, the element earth, is very prominent here. It's also called Karma Bhumi, because activities on this Bhuloka realm, they result in long residence in different realms. But the sense of time in those realms, the sense of space, the material bodies in those realms vary greatly. So the physical laws, chemistry and biological, that we are experiencing here on this realm are not necessarily the same exactly in different realms. Like there is Siddhaloka. The Siddhas, they have mystic powers, and by thought they travel through different pantas to different regions of the universe. And they meet there and discuss and enjoy and go here and there. So how can we understand that when we have this gross body? We have to get on an aeroplane or a motor car to travel here and there. They have built. So these realms are to be contemplated. But ultimately, this is the material energy, and by devotion to Vishnu, and as Krishna has explained, I am that. I am the Yagya Parush, as Prabhupada said. I am Bhaktaram Yagya Tapasam. And so we should understand on the earth planet, as Prabhupada finishes in that purport, this is the need of human society. We have to recognize that the universal arrangement with the Vasus and all the demigods, they are producing food for the maintenance of our body. If we didn't have air or water or grains, we could not subsist. So when we take these things and cook them, we should cook them in a mood of sacrifice. It does not mean, when we're talking about sacrifices for Vishnu, it does not mean an Ashvamedha yagya or a big yagya performed by a big Kshatriya with lots of ghee and grains. No, we can perform yagya in our own life by offering foodstuffs we take from the marketplace, and we realize this is coming by the grace of Krishna and the Devatas. Now I cook in the devotional mood, I offer it in the devotional mood, and I take it in the devotional mood as Krishna's prasad. And that is yagya. Then we are performing yagya, and our life is purified. And there's also, and so therefore, it's very interesting. Atakshri Krishna namadi na bhaved grayam indraya. That Krishna is beyond the senses, but sevan mukhi hi jivado swayameva spuryada. Krishna becomes revealed by performing yagya. So these are two very important things for the sadhaka, to eat pure foodstuffs, recognizing Krishna and his extended limbs and offering it to Krishna. And in the 4th chapter, Krishna will explain all sorts of sacrifices, the sacrifice of knowledge, the sacrifice of material possessions, the sacrifice of breathing exercises. But what does he say in the Gita later? Yajnanam, japa, yajnanam. Of all sacrifices, I am japa. And that is a reference, of course, to Sankirtan Yajna. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. So these two yajnas, the yajna, and what did the sages of Naimisharanya say to Sutta Goswami? He said, we're gathered here to perform yajna. Being blessed with many years, Sutta Goswami, you were present when Parikshit and Sukadev were discussing for 8 days on the bank of the Ganga. Now you tell us what the discussion was about. We're gathered here, Naimisharanya, to hear this. We see Kali Yuga coming. Now where is Dharma? So we want to perform yajna. So when we're gathered together here, this is yajna. When we come to the Gita class, we're coming to perform yajna. When we take properly cooked foodstuffs by pure devotees in our own home, that is yajna. And so that also japa should not be performed in the materialistic way. We're thinking, this is for my benefit. I'm performing devotional service for my benefit. We should develop seva bhav, where we chant japa as a yajna. Yajna means that which is performed for the other, in particularly for Vishnu. Work must be performed for Vishnu. Otherwise, work binds one from the material world. But then, sevan mukhihe jivadu, by performing japa yajna, prasadam yajna, by hearing shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam, pada sevanam, these are all yajnas, ways of yajna. So they are to be performed as an offering. That is the meaning of upasana. It is done as worship. We are worshipping Krishna by hearing the Bhagavatam class, by hearing the Gita class, by reading the commentary of the great acharyas. That is yajna. So in the period of sadhana, it's very important that from an intelligent point of view, Buddha Yoga, we understand this correct mood. And therefore, when we perform hearing, chanting, and smaranam, we are doing it in the mood of yajna, in upasana. That means in full knowledge of the bhakti process. And then, swayam eva spuryada. Spuryada means the Supreme Lord becomes manifest. Oh Ram, I have to see you after the class. Yeah. So this is very important, and this is the section of the Gita where Krishna is explaining yajna. We have to perform yajna, but it has to be done in knowledge. So as Krishna says there, those that live only for the senses live in vain. But the devotee with spiritual knowledge, he lives to perform yajna. I get up for Mangalarti in the Brahma Muhurta and I chant as yajna. I go to see the deity as yajna. I take prasadam as yajna. So the devotee's life is a life of yajna. And when Krishna tells Arjuna, he says, Manmana pavamad bhakto madhyaji. You perform all your devotional activities as a yajna, a mam namaskaru. Offer them with humility to me. Because Krishna is a person. So when we mam namaskaru, when we offer to Krishna with humility, Krishna is telling you, I'm telling you the great secret. If you offer with humility all these yagyas, that will touch my heart. And not because I want to be worshipped, but because I'm telling you the secret, Arjuna. If you worship me with humility, it will touch my heart and I will reveal myself to you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so we'll finish on that point. So this is a few points on yajna. But Lord Chaitanya said that ultimately this Vishnu worship, that is the external form of bhakti through varnashram and doing your duty. But Lord Chaitanya and the six Goswamis have emphasized the internal form of yajna, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Okay, thank you all very much for attending class. I hope you got something out of it. Jai Srila Prabhupada Sadhu Sangha Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.